Hello YouTube and welcome to a new game of EloHell analysis. EloHell analysis is a series where I'll be analyzing bronze and silver Elo games and try to see which mistakes they are making and in which areas they can improve. In this game we are following a Leona support. She is an aggressive support with good engage. She has a long range stun. She has a shield which makes her tanky. She has a gap closer, which is also a small stun, and she has her Q, which is a on-demand stun. She is an all-in support, as I would call it. She has a good engage, but she has bad disengage, like a Janna, for example. Which means that if she makes a bad engage, she will lose a lot of health or maybe even die in the process. So as Leona, it's really important, also in lane, but also in team fights, to know where the rest of your team is, because once you go in, it's hard to get out. Now see, in this game she is laned with an Ashe, which is not a bad synergy. They both have a long range stun. Ashe also has her frost arrow, which can slow the enemies so they can kite as well, which means that if Leona can peel pretty decently for Ashe, and with her slow, it's good combination. They're up against a Janna and a Caitlyn, and the Caitlyn made a good choice of picking Cleanse instead of Barrier. If the combo of Ashe Leona is done good, then you can probably die in the stun lock. So getting Cleanse is a good choice, as it clears the current debuff, which could be Leona ultimate on Ashe Arrow, and reduces the next CC in the next 3 seconds by 60%. Janna is also a decent choice against this combo with the Cleanse. If the Cleanse is down, or even in trades, when the Leona is engaging on your AD carry as a Janna, you should shield your AD carry and always try to tornado the AD carry, the enemy AD carry, and not so much Leona, but because he's already on your AD carry and you want to prevent the enemy AD carry from reaching yours. Now Leona wards quite earlier with her invisible ward as well, which she should have saved, but I'll come back to that later. So here the Caitlyn gets caught out. Her Janna is not in lane yet, so she goes too deep. She plays too greedy for CS and she pays dearly with it for a lot of HP. Luckily for her, she started with boots and pots, which allows her to heal up and stay in lane and not miss too much XP. Janna's back in the lane. Caitlyn already hit level 2, and Ashe makes a bad trade here. He takes a lot of minion damage, and suddenly Leona decides to go in. Although the all her skill shots were hit, the Ashe was low HP because of the bad trade, and she didn't keep in mind that the Caitlyn cleanse. And eventually this turns out for a 2-for-1 exchange for the enemy team. Luckily, not all the 2 kills went to Caitlyn, 1 went to Janna. It's still bad, of course, but it could have been worse if it was 2 kills on the AD carry. We also see that the Caitlyn rushes Circuit Grease while Ashe picks up another Doran Blade. Personally, I'm not that fan of a second Doran's Blade. I prefer to get a longsword and start building towards my Vampiric Scepter. Because you should keep in mind that as an AD carry, when you buy an Doran's item, you're investing in cheap stats, but because you can't upgrade those items, eventually it's a loss of gold. So I think a second Doran's is too much. Here we see the Leona being greedy, and they're chasing the Janna. She misses her E after the flash. Just way too greedy. Now the Caitlyn gets some free CS, even though she takes some harass from the Ashe, which is her bad in the end. They should have just scared the Janna away, and they could have still harassed the Caitlyn, but wasting the flash was a bit too much. And also the exhaust was down. And as said before, the Leona plays the ping ward. As Leona, you actually want to keep the push control You want to try to zone the enemy AD carry and support to try to keep them away from CS. Probably, yeah, it would have been better if she would have warded the bush instead, or placed the pink ward after Janna has warded. I'm not sure if Janna had any pink wards, but you don't want to place a pink ward that early. You want to wait and see when they place the pink ward. And here she makes a nice blind E and hits the Caitlyn. The Ashe flashes for the Caitlyn, but it's one auto attack short. It was a good engage actually. The Caitlyn was just out of position, but Janna did a good job of shielding her and using her tornado on both of them actually. It was quite a good tornado, and that's why yeah, props to Janna for saving her Caitlyn. Well, Caitlyn still has a few potions, so she can stay in lane. Nunu comes in for a gank. Leona realizes a bit too late. She does a nice job on CCing the Nunu though, but the exhaust is a bit wasted. Ashe was already safe, and yeah, exhaust, it slows movement speed and damage, and yeah, Nunu hasn't that much. Now here she's going to chase the Nunu with the Nautilus, and Janna's coming as well, as we see, but yeah, Janna saves her teammate once again. And now what the Leona does is recalling, which means that she is leaving her Ashe 2 against 1 in her bottom lane, which is quite risky. She still had full HP, she still has a bit of ward coverage in that one bush, and mana's not big of a problem. But she went back shopping. She rushes a Philosopher's Stone. I'm not big of a fan of rushing Philosopher's Stone on a Leona. Leona doesn't really need that much mana regen because she only has to use her combos. She doesn't really poke like a Zyra or a Lulu, for example. So it's better for her to stack health, and I would personally advise to rush the side stone actually to give that extra ward coverage in lane, and the health makes it even tankier. Because she has her shield, which already adds resistances, buying health increases her effective health, which means she's harder to kill. Well, we see that the Lux came in for a teleport, but the Ashe was low, so it was only Lux and Leona, and once again the enemy Janna did a good tornado and saved Caitlyn once again. So as you can see, Janna was quite a good pick against this setup. We see that she placed another pink ward. As I said before, it is not smart to place pink wards if you don't know if a ward is placed there. As you can see, this is the second pink ward she placed without actually spotting one green or one pink ward in the meanwhile. So try to place your pink ward if you know for sure that there is a ward. And right now, when the enemy Caitlyn and Janna backed, ideally you should push your lane. You should push your lane to their tower, and when the enemy minions are dead and your minions are hitting their tower, you should recall as well. The enemy team has went shopping, so they have spent their gold in items, and you want to do that as well. If you wait too long with recalling, you will be behind in items, because the gold will be sitting just in your pocket, but it's not spent. The Ashe decides to stay. I don't know why, because the lane is pushed halfway. There's nothing Ashe can do. He can maybe try to volley to get some CS, but it's very risky because the Ashe doesn't have Butch yet. And the Caitlyn does have a circuit boost, and we have a Janna which adds a bit of CC with her W and her tornado, being able to slow. Now the Leona here engages, and yeah, because the Ashe is low HP, there's nothing you can do. You probably could have auto attacked, or even used her arrow, because the arrow is quite late to do some damage. But as Leona, she should have known her Ashe is low HP. There's nothing she can do. She had barrier up though, but she didn't arrow in time. They didn't really catch them under the tower. They didn't receive that much tower damage. So she should have just played safe. Wait for Ashe to recall or wait for a jungler gank. Probably the latter would have been best. Especially with the pink ward in the tri-bush, which is expired now. So as a Leona, you really need to be aware of your lane partner, Ashe in this case. And later on you will see she will make the same mistakes in mid and late game with the rest of her teammates. After she died, Ashe died as well because she was chased by Caitlyn. She bought boots, 2 wards and a pink ward, which is quite good actually. Before she only had her Philosopher's Stone and 1 pink ward, which is quite low, especially if you don't have Sightstone yet. Especially on the blue side, you want to have at least 2 wards so you can ward Dragon and the tri-bush. Ashe flashes over the wall here, another Q, yeah, Leona basically wastes her flash because he did nothing after actually, which was another waste of her flash. Here she makes a nice blind EQ into the bush, stuffs Nunu, which gets him low, but yeah, because the Lux is low and has her cooldowns, there's nothing she can do. Pantheon finishes off the Caitlyn, and in the end the Lux gets a kill on the Nunu. So now we have the enemy Caitlyn is dead, their support has gone back, their Zed died, and the Nunu got killed with the enemy jungler, so it's a perfect opportunity to take the dragon. You don't need a pink ward for dragon at this moment because it's just safe. She had a pink ward, I don't know why she placed it in that bush. Even if you have a pink ward, place it a dragon at least. You never know. But keep in mind, also not in just this game, but in future games, when you get a kill in your bottom lane, or even a double kill, in this case even a triple kill, and if you also get a kill on the enemy jungler, yeah, just think about dragon. If dragon is up, you should have the advantage. And dragon, as said before, it's a lot of money. It's 750 gold for the entire team. It's worth 2 kills. And when you kill the dragon without the enemy having vision, you can also time it. The dragon is 6 minutes, so you can prepare for it when it respawns again. So when you see higher elo games or spectate, sometimes you see people writing the times in chat, and it's really helpful. That's why you should always put timestamp on. In case you forget to remember the time, you can just scroll back up and see the correct time which was killed. So now right here, the Lux teleports in. The Leona wastes her ultimate bit though here. She could have just used her EQ and caught Janna earlier, but in the end Janna still dies. And they get the turret, which was already low from previous laning. So I think a lot of things I've been seeing, especially in lower elo games and sometimes even higher elo games, that once your bottom tower is down, people are not exactly sure what to do. A lot of people go back bottom lane and they just try to less hit more and basically usually without vision. When you are pushing that far in bottom lane, you want to ward their enemy blue golem. But ideally, what usually happens in high elo games is that the bottom lane comes middle lane if that turret is still standing, which is usually the case, and you try to push down that middle turret. So right now the Nautilus and the Ashe are going back for the lizard buff, and the Lux gets caught out after waste her flash. She's low on mana, low on health. I don't know why, but Leona makes a bad call here of going in. Lux had no cooldowns, no summoners, so there was nothing Leona could do. She had no ultimate, she had no summoners as well. Her exhaust was down and her flash as well. So there's, yeah, she just has her 3 skills, so she cannot do less. So, as said before, as Leona, know where your teammates are. If you're playing any character that has some sort of engage, it could be an Ash Arrow, that could be a Nautilus, it could even be a Jarvan. Or a Malphite especially, you really need to be aware where your team is and in what state your team is. If your team is low on mana or low on HP, or someone wandered off to get a Wraith camp, you should not engage unless the enemy team is also missing people. But that's also part of ward coverage. So right now Leona comes back mid. Does a good job of engaging the Zed there. The Ashe makes a good arrow, gets 2 kills. Oh, at least 1 kill. The Leona uses her ultimate and accidentally kill steals the Janna. The Lux was caught out. A little replay got here. Leona did a good job on going on the Yorick there, and as of now they're trying to push the tower. Yeah, the Nunu does her ultimate and she makes a bad call of trying to stun or something. The Nunu, she just should have just ran away. There was nothing she could do. Even if she would have stunned the Nunu, the minions would still die, and the Caitlyn was there and she would still die eventually. So now we see that Leona has bought a Sightstone, which is a good choice. As I said before, I'm not really a fan of Philosopher's Stone. I prefer it towards the Sightstone. She also bought a Pink Ward next to it. I think this is very good. Every time she goes back, she always, or at least almost every time, buys a Pink Ward. Especially in early game, especially at the Dragon. You want to have a Pink Ward ready. When you have killed the dragon with your team and you have had the timer, you know when it spawns, then you can ward Pink Ward in advance. So the enemy team doesn't have vision when the dragon spawns. So she wards ahead a little bit here. Now she uses her Pink Ward. As you can see, they got vision up ahead. Dragon is free from wards. I'm not sure what time it will be when it will spawn. But the ward coverage around the area is good. Ideally, you want to have a ward on the other side of the jungle as well. So here she joins in their teammates down in the middle tower. Places a ward near the dragon pit, and now she gets a bit greedy. She has no wards left, but she wants to go in. She gets caught off by the Yorick, caught off out of the use her ultimate to get away, potentially instead of offensively. And basically she's sticking around to one target. She's chasing after the Lulu, but probably chase after the Yorick. Other important target. So eventually she dies to the Yorick, which is, could not have really been avoided, I guess, but she did her job, sort of. And eventually, even though she was out of position, I think they get 2 out of 4 in this fight. They lose the Leona and the Pantheon, and they kill the Nunu, the Zed, the Caitlyn. 2 out of 3, I think it is then. And as you see now, Dragon has spawned, and she got another Pink Ward. As I said before, she almost buys a Pink Ward every time, which is good. But personally, I always like to buy 1 or 2 green wards extra. Right now, you can see that the Janna is heading towards the dragon. I'm not sure. I think the Janna has an oracle. And now they knew that the Janna is coming towards the Baron's pit. And they have no vision of the head. They have no damage to down the dragon fast. And it's also a mistake of their team. The dragon was up. They just should have gone after the dragon, but instead it's only Nautilus and Leona. They get caught out because there was only one dragon pit and not the enemy jungle. In this case, if you're doing a risky dragon, you should ward up ahead near the bush next to the middle lane and probably blue golem. And now it results in a free dragon, free enemy team. And while there it also the Leona and the Nautilus died together. Leona maybe could have avoided her death. If she would have walked towards the edge of the dragon pit, she could have flashed over. I'm not sure if the enemy team would have followed her, but the enemy Caitlyn had her flash down, but she probably didn't know that. So right now she finished her Merc threats, which is not a bad choice. Personally, I like to upgrade my Ruby Sightstone first. Once again, she still has pink ward. I would probably, if the dragon is down, I would probably use my pink ward on the Baron pit, try to get control of that vision. And what we see now is that the Leona, she is split from her team. We can see that at middle lane, the Ashe, the Pantheon, and the Lux are fighting mid. They get a kill on enemy. And yeah, they're still pushing, I think, but Leona decides to get the CS in bottom lane. As a support, you should always try to stick around your team as much as possible, unless you are warding somewhere. But usually that's when you're going towards Dragon, the Baron, yeah, or the enemy jungle, whatever. But yeah, Leona is just trying, yes, he's just taking less hits while the enemy team keeps fighting. They get a kill on the Yorick. And even though nobody dies on her team, we can see that the Janna was low, the Caitlyn is low as well. And if she would have been there, even especially with her long range stun on her ultimate, she could probably secure 2 more kills for her team, and in that case it could have been another tower as well, which would have been another 750 gold. And as said before in my previous video, you really want to go for objectives. You really want to kill dragon when it's up, and when the objectives are down, or when you want a team fight, you really want to push for objectives, go for the towers. And even you can even go for the enemy red and blue buff if you want. So now Leona only has 1 ward around the Baron pit. If it was me, I would have used my pink ward on the Baron to gain control of the vision there. But once again, she didn't ward the Baron pit, so she's just running around, doing nothing while her team gets another 3 kills onto the enemy team. Yeah, she makes a weird mistake here. I don't think she realized that she still had tower aggro. I think she tried to turn away to use the aggro and wanted to flash back in. But yeah, she didn't went out of range and still had turret aggro and died. Nonetheless, the flash was a bit wasted as well. Yorick was dead anyway, because the Nautilus has a red buff and you have an Ashe and a Lux, which provide enough CC to finish him off. Yes, you could have used that flash earlier to save her life, or she could use it for future advantages to engage, for example, or maybe in emergency situations to peel off for your AD carry. Right now she picked up an Emblem of Failure. Is of course basically on every support you want to have the Aegis of the Legion, which is now upgrading into a Locket. I don't think in this patch, no, I think in this patch is still the Bulwark, but nonetheless, yeah, if your jungler is not building the Locket, then you should do it as a support. It just provides a nice aura for your teammates. It doesn't provide magic resist anymore for your teammates, I believe, but still gives nice stats. Now what we see here is the Ashe is getting caught out, and Leona is just wandering around a bit, and instead she should heal for her Ashe, which is working a lot better. She's using her ultimate to stun the dead. And now she chases after a Yorick. Nautilus engages, but she should have stayed with the Ashe. The Ashe was low. got assassins like Zed, and the Yorick is not really primary target. As a support, your first job should be to protect your AD carry, but as your Leona, you could also be aggressive and try to CC an important target of the enemy team. In this case, that would be the Caitlyn or the Zed, and with their team, they got quite a lot of CC. Now here we see that they try to chase and they end up being a 3 against 4. With the Jenna being low, so it ends up being a 3 against 3. And not that bad, but Leona dies nonetheless. As a team, they should just back up. What you should keep in mind, especially as Leona, a lot of people, especially lower elo, when you engage, it gives a green light for your teammates to follow up. But if you make a bad engage, you're basically baiting your team into a bad engage. And I'm not sure who made the call here, or it was just a team effort. But keep in mind that when you make a bad engage, that most of the people, especially in bronze and silver elo, will just follow you nonetheless. Even though it's a bad engage, even though it's a 3 against 5, or even if your AP carry is totally people still follow you. So be careful with your engages. And as I said before, if I was this Leona, I would probably try to improve my map awareness or team awareness. I'm not sure how to call it, but she should, before making the decision to engage, know where her team is and know where the enemy team is. If you chase, especially into Fog of War, after the enemy team, you want to know where the rest of their teammates is. You can be with 3 people and catch out one of the enemy team, but if you have no ward coverage, the other 4 people of the enemy team could suddenly show up. So as Leona, there are some few aspects. You want to have good ward coverage to know where the enemy team is. You need to know where your own team is, and in what state they're in. For example, if the Ashe doesn't have her ultimate, it's maybe not wise to engage as Leona. Now here also a mistake. I see a lot happening, especially in lower elo. She just placed a pink ward and she wants to clear the Baron ward, but she gets caught out by the Zed and the Janna, and she wastes her flash. I'm not sure if it was needed, but yeah, just try to ask your team for backup to help the G ward. Don't go in alone and don't feel forced to clear those wards. So right here, she's doing on the team off of the Yorick. She can do a lot, but she doesn't cooldown for that. And the Ashe dies nonetheless. Yeah, not a lot you can do. This really was quite nice. Some new flashes. Bit of Canyon, get a kill on the Caitlyn. I think they get a kill on the Zed as well. I'm not entirely sure. So they're trying to chase the Zed, which, yeah, well, as a team, just in general, try not to chase too much. Instead, go back, heal up, spend your gold, or try to push towers where the enemy team is still recovering. And here they decide to take the top turret, which is not a really good call. The turret still has quite some HP, and we want to take a lot of damage. And I don't know why, but she decides to go in the even though she knows that there are only 2 and there's 3. As said before, now she baits her teammates. The Penyon was wise enough to back off, but the Nautilus wasn't so wise and goes in as well, or at least too deep, and gets caught out. So in the end, they got a tower, so they get 750 gold, but they also gave up 2 kills. So you could say it's pretty even. So in the end, it's actually not really worth it, in my opinion. Towers you can always still push down, but you can't revert that. And what you see happening now is that because the jungler is dead, in this case the Nautilus, and the Leona has died as well. The enemy team basically gets a free Baron. The Ashe makes a mistake of face checking, or at least trying to stop them alone, and the York catches him out and he dies for nothing actually. And here we see another mistake happening. We know that the Nautilus is still dead, the Ashe is dead, and the Leona tries to stop the Baron on their own. Not sure if the ultimate because it's not in range. Pantheon ends up 1 versus 5. Leona decides to go off and goes back in again. Back to 10-0. Let's see 1 to 3. Not 3 people again die. Or at least in the end you could even say 4 for O exchange with the Ashe counted in, and the enemy team get Baron, so they get a massive gold lead. As you can see now, they also have more gold than the blue team, which they just gave their advantage away. They just, the last 2-3 team fights which they won were just nullified because of this mistake. And as said before, she baited her teammates top into dying. She should have known that her team wasn't there, and she should have seen that the enemy team has spawned and it wasn't too big of a risk to get that tower. So now the enemy team has Baron, they got the gold lead, they got another tower as well. And from what we also can see is that now she only has a ward at Baron. She hasn't been warding that good in these games. She's mostly just wandering around a bit, not sure what to do, not staying with her team all the time. She split out of position, and the only time you should be split with your team is to ward, not go for last hitting, or just doing nothing like this Leona is. Right now it seems like she doesn't know what to do, but as you can see, we have no wards in either the left side or the right side of the jungle. If they get caught out now with the Pantheon dead, they're always 4 against 5. And if they get caught out, it could cost them the game basically. Now they still have a small chance of getting back into the game. Their best chances would be to turtle and ward up the jungle properly. If you're behind, you still want to. You really want that vision. Basically, not just when you're behind. You always want to have good vision. And yes, she still has a Ruby Sidestone. She has 3 wards. The ward at Baron is basically not longer needed because it won't spawn in a long while. So she should just ward up the jungle. And as you can see now, the dragon has also spawned, but the enemy team, I believe, still has Baron, so it's not wise. But we also see that the enemy team is in the right side of the jungle, and we only have vision of the left side of the jungle. Now it won't matter really in this game, but you should really be aware of what happens. Now team fight breaks out, I'm not sure what the focus is. Sienna first, and that guys eventually but she didn't do a bad job. But I think if I was Leona, I would have tried to CC Caitlyn. Even if you die in the process, the more CC on the Caitlyn, the less damage she will do on your teammates. You want to try to keep your AD carry alive longer than their AD carry. So now they lost the team fight again. Could have been maybe a bit worse, but the Caitlyn survived and she's able to get the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor as well. And we see here that she buys a chain vest. I'm not exactly sure why. This is the patch with the bulwark, so the chain vest is not an ingredient for the bulwark. She should just continue to finish that she should have just continued to finish the bulwark. And she does buy pink ward again, which is a good choice. And now we can also see that he bought a Thorn Mill. And there's an article, I think, on Reign of Gaming where they compare different armor items, which armor item you should be buying if you want to defend yourself against the high physical damage team, which in this case they are, besides Nunu as an exception. But basically the Thorn Mill is not worth the money. The Sunfire Cape, Frozen Heart, and Brandon's Omen are way better choice to buy for. So here they try to pick a fight, they get the dragon because the Zed is top. And I'm not exactly sure why, but the Zed is pushing top, so he gets the free power. And the blue team here is just wandering around a bit. I'm not sure what to do. They should probably, well, they didn't kill the Yorick, but they should probably group up again and push out the lanes. And as Leona, she should really ward up the jungles. Where now she just has the pink ward, the dragon, but there are no wards in the right side of the jungle. As you can see now, the Nautilus catches the Quickling. The Leona decides to go on the Janna. She wastes her toss on the Janna. Not sure why. There was no one around to follow up. And she should have just saved her toss. Quickling here decimates the rest of the team was not around to follow up. And we even lose 3 against 5, was it? Yeah, 4 against 4 I think. I'm not sure if the Lux was there in advance, but yeah, this basically cost them the game. As I said before, especially low elo people get baited when they engage. And in this case it was the Nautilus who engaged on the Caitlyn. And he went way too deep, he got a lot of damage, he got way too low before the rest of his team arrived, and the Lux was even out of range as well. And Leona just used her CC on the wrong target. So these are like the last few seconds of the game, because I cannot straightforward the game. But as Leona, I will improve on my awareness of the enemy team and my own team. Positioning, try to stay with my team more often, protect my AD carry or lock down an important member of the enemy team, and ward coverage. Even though her items were slightly okay, she didn't really do a good job of warding. Thanks for watching.